Okay, so again, welcome everyone to this first Frictionless Data Community Call of the year. It's very nice to see you all here. Today, we're going to hear from Matteo Fortini, who's here, about frictionless data and DCAT. And I know that some people in this community already had made some effort around it, notably Augusto. You did that, I think, a couple of years ago. So hopefully we'll have a great discussion around that as well. But as usual, before we start, I just propose that we do a quick round of introductions. There's a couple of new faces here, so it's good that we all know each other. So then it's easier to also have a discussion later on. I'll start. So I'm Sara Petti. I'm the Frictionless Data Community Manager, as you probably most of you know. I work at Open Knowledge Foundation. I'm based in Bologna, Italy. And I'll pick someone else to go after me. Ricardo, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ricardo Miron. I work at the United Nations Development Program as part of the technical team of an initiative called the Digital Public Goods Alliance. I'm based in Mexico City. And yeah, I don't know if I need to choose someone else.
Yes, please pick someone else to go after you.
Jonathan.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Mitchell. I work for a company called Innovi Health, based out of Utah, but I live up in Washington State. So that's brighter and early 7 o'clock for me too. Yeah, so that's me. Let's toss it over to Jesper.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jesper Zedlitz. I work for the State Chancellery of the Federal State of Schleswig-Holstein in Germany. We try to use frictionless specifications more and more. I think we have around 1,000 tabular data resources already in our system, and I'm really excited about today's topic because the combination of frictionless data specifications and DCAT, which is required by the European Union for open data, it's really an interesting topic, and I'm really looking forward to this talk. Yeah, I'll pass it over to Nico.
Nico, would you like to introduce yourself? Or maybe while we wait for Nico, why don't you, Silvestro, go ahead?
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Silvestro Duterme. I'm here because I'm working on the data catalog based on DCAT. And I'm also looking at frictionless data for everything related to describe the data using schema and how to validate data.
Great, thanks, Sylvester, and welcome. Would you like to pick someone to go after you?
I don't know what can I ask. I will say Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Fader. I'm in Philadelphia in the US. I work for a company called Civic Actions. We're a government contractor, and I work with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Studies, building open data portals. And yeah, I've been building open data sites for federal customers for like 8 years, and implementing DCAT US, which is like a variant of the core DCAT standard that whole time. So this is kind of my whole world, and excited to see what we're going to talk about today. And I'll pass to Aaron.
Thanks, Dan. Aaron Couch, also based in Philly. Have worked with DCAT before. And yeah, I'm always interested in these tools and appreciate the community. So thanks for the event today. Sarah, can you help me out? I'm not sure who hasn't gone yet.
I think Maruska hasn't gone yet.
Yes, thank you. I'm Maruska. I live in Siena. I'm from Italy. It's my first time here because I'm interested in open data, but I'm very new at this subject. So I need to learn more, and I'm just here to hear what you say. At the moment, maybe.
Excellent. Thanks, Maruska, and welcome.
Thank you. Maybe in the next, Aditya, I don't know, I was fighting with my webcam, and so.
Yeah, don't worry. Aditya, actually, I think she's She's listening through a bot, so I'm not sure she can really speak, but
Okay.
Oleg still needs to go. So Oleg, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm just, my name is Oleg Machowski. I'm one of the directors of the Swiss Open Knowledge chapter, Open Data Skate. I'm currently in a train between Zurich and Bern, so my connection's a bit choppy. I'll just say I'm data. I've worked closely over the years with the Swiss Open Data Portal project on the government, where DCAT is a big topic. So looking forward to hear your thoughts.
Thanks, Oleg. And I think Augusto and Francisco are still missing. I don't know who wants to go first. Shall we have Augusto and then Francisco?
Okay, hi, I'm Augusto Herman. I'm based in Brasília, Brazil. I work as a data engineer in the Ministry of Management and Innovation in Public Service. That's a new name for the ministry in Brazil. And I used to run the Open Data Initiative in Brazil from its inception in 2010 to 2018. And I have been a long-time user of Frictionless and eventual contributor, also to other open knowledge projects. And as for the work, previous work that Sarah mentioned before, I started to map some of the classes and properties from Frictionless and between Frictionless and DCAT2, and I have sent the link in chat. That was a long time ago. I have long since not worked on that because I'm no longer working, running the Open Data Initiative, and so that was not a priority. I gave priority to other projects. So I pass the word to Francisco Alves. Hi, hola.
Hi, I'm Francisco Alves, based here in Minas Gerais, Brazil. I'm currently working in the state of Minas Gerais with budgetary and fiscal data. And I think that's it. Good to be here today.
Great. And actually, before Matteo, I leave the floor to you, I think that Ambrogio also needs to introduce himself still. So Ambrogio, if you want to go ahead. I don't think we can hear you, Ambrogio, if you're speaking. Okay, Ambrogio, if you want, you can also just write an introduction in the chat if you're having troubles with the...
Yep.
Ah, yes, now we hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Microphone problem.
No worries.
So, hi everyone, once again. I'm Roger Folletti. I work for the Swiss Federal Office of Energy. I am here responsible for our open data publications. Then we publish, of course, our metadata with the DCAT standard. And we are also in the, I would say, very early stages to you for using Frictionless as validation tools. And then I am really, really interested in the combination of the two. Thank you.
Thanks, Ambrogio. And Matteo, I'll leave the floor to you, so you can introduce yourself, and then if you want, you can jump directly into your presentation.
Yes, thank you. I thank you all for being here, first of all.
Matteo, you muted yourself, I think.
Okay, am I back? Okay.
Yes,
sorry.
you are.
Don't know why. Okay. I was just saying I will just try to set the tone of the discussion more than to get into technical details, because I think everyone there's many people here that are much more expert in the technical details. I wanted to say that first of all, I'm Matteo Fortini. I'm based in Italy, in Rome, for the Department for Digital Transformation of the Italian government. We have three communities, let's say. One community is about code, open source. Another community is about the design of websites, accessible design that produces design kits, and it's very active in this way, and the open data and open government community. We have many projects around. One project that I can stress here is the National Digital Data Platform, which is a mixture of an API catalog, a national data catalog for semantic interoperability with semantic data inside, and some guidelines for technical interoperability. We work in improving digital competencies, cloud connectivity, identity, everything that you can think about innovation and digital innovation in the public sector. We are trying to be a kind of authority for design of these things, and we have some projects that we do directly control. Why do we? Okay, let's see if it stays still. Why do we talk about open data? Because there's European rules about open data and the reuse of the public sector information. It says that documents produced by public sector bodies are available pool of resources that can benefit society, and also it can benefit transparency and accountability, because we can allow the reuse of documents and add value to for the benefit of users. We have a database society as much as we can, because we want to understand the world and to use data to understand the world. And we want to have an economy of data, because sharing data is a good way to use them for the benefit of economy, for using for enabling the use of new technologies like artificial intelligence, for example. And this is we want it to be as open as we can, because we know that it's better to share data than to sell it, let's say, because the impact is much bigger. Right now, we started in Italy to get, we took into our laws the European Public Sector Information Law, and we are publishing the Italian guidelines on open data. It's pending approval. And one thing that we stress, and I think a new thing that we added in the Italian guidelines, is that the definition of document and data is not always easy to separate. And the guidelines say that documents and data are all under these guidelines. And if you publish data inside a document, then all the data must be published separately. So if you publish a graph or a table, you need to publish it as open data separately in a format which is machine readable and open and everything else that we know. Most of you may know the chain, the open data publishing chain that we have in Europe, at least. We start from a distribution with a data set, a raw data set. We have a catalog of data sets that is composed of distributions. All these data sets go into a national catalog. Every nation has a national catalog. And all the catalogs, all the national catalogs are harvested by the European catalog, which, so you can see here, it's very small, but you can see the same data in the distribution, in the data set list, in the national catalog, and then in the European catalog. All of this is enabled by metadata that describe these data sets and by harvesting chain that is working between all the different repositories of the catalog. One of the data that we published is the data about the next generation EU funds. Probably everyone here is working with these funds. In Italy, we have more than 200 billion allocated for this innovation. But in particular, we have our department is using almost 7 billions dedicated to public sector digitalization and innovation. So we have like 20,000 administration involved. Of course, citizens and ONGs and everyone wants to have transparency, accountability about this kind of data. So we chose to publish an open data page about this kind of funds. And the funds are, the data is also published in a GitHub repository where we added frictionless data and DCAT metadata. The DCAT metadata is the format, as someone already said before, that is mandatory for getting into the catalogs that I was talking about before. Another project is the National Population Registry. Here we have published a dashboard with the numbers. This is some kind of storytelling or statistics, transparency, accountability, open government project. In this case, we decided to publish in the same way the raw data behind these graphs. Also, these data are published with metadata in the frictionless format and in the DCAT AP Italian format for metadata. In this case, we chose, for example, another license, which was the CC0 public domain license, because we thought it is machine generated data without any public intellectual property issue. How, where, and what do we publish? We chose to use scripts to gather data. We typically run the scripts every day automatically, so the data are taken from the databases or the logs of the systems and are published automatically every day. We chose to use GitHub because right now there's in particular our department has no CCAN. Most of the public administrations use a CCAN system to publish data. We didn't have any kind of CCAN available, so we decided to use GitHub, which is the same system that we use to publish our open source code. So and also open source metadata, for example, in the semantic category. So we decided to use the same flexible repository system. We published data both in CSV and JSON formats, basically because JSON format is useful for web publishing or application or for creating applications or views, and the CSV format is easier for people that are used to have tabular data. So we usually published both of them, and there are keys, like let's say foreign keys to other tabular data, like for example geographical data for municipalities. we added the frictionless metadata because we wanted to have a standard way of documenting the different columns, or let's say attributes of the data. And we wanted to have a strong typing for the data, and also to enforce constraints, because people are using those data, and they are opening issues on our repositories as every time they see strange data. So as if we can catch it as soon as it gets into the repository, it's better. So in general, for data quality. And then we had the DCAT IP Italian guide version of the DCAT IP, which is unfortunately a little behind the European, the up-to-date one, but we are in the progress of updating it. The metadata in the DCAT IP is an RDF XML format. Some attributes are mandatory, others are optional. And these as I said before, are the metadata that are harvested and published by the National Open Data Catalog. Here, maybe I say something that everyone here knows, but I wanted to make sure that what is the problem, at least as from my point of view, which could be wrong, but I'm happy if you prove me wrong. Metadata is, we can drill down in metadata. So DCAT IP IT or DCAT IP solves the problems of telling me which catalogs are available, which data sets are in each catalog, and which distributions for each of the data sets. And it deals about the contents of the data, the names, of course, the titles, the description, the themes, which is a control vocabulary which is useful to aggregate the data sets, and the licenses with which I distribute these data sets. Frictionless drills down to the columns or the attributes of the data sets. So it goes to attribute description, to data type, set and constraints. So this is the two sides of the frictionless. What we asked Sarah before, and thank you for being here, is while our dream is having one metadata to root them all, because we think it could be very useful to add one file for each data set and describe both the catalog information and go down to the data description and attributes. We have seen already some efforts, and some of you were already talking about some issues opened in the repositories, but of course we don't. We would be fine with a partial implementation, as long as it enables us to publish the data in and have a first implementation. What I say is that it's a very good moment, because everyone, there are many rules, especially in Europe, to publish data sets with APIs in open data. They are called the high value data set regulation, which has been promoted some days ago, and it would be a very good moment to have one metadata that can go down to the description of the API payload, and not only with what the API is about. I'm finished with my introduction. I would like to hear what you think about it and discuss. Our department is very interested in in having in also having creating a group, a working group about this, and trying to bring this to some kind of shared regulation or at least a shared standard. So thank you for now.
Thanks very much, Matteo. That was really insightful. I think we can open the table to discussion. So if anyone has any question for Matteo, now it's a good moment to ask, or feedback or comment of any kind. Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Matteo. That's really interesting. I was wondering, I don't know if on a screen share or something, you could maybe show an example of a data set, I guess, in GitHub, or else harvest it into a portal, and like how you're sort of managing the two different metadata standards. It sounds like you're publishing a data package and also a DCAT record, but I'm having trouble kind of imagining what it looks like for at the specific data set level. Would that be possible?
Sure. While I listen, I will bring it up.
Thanks.
Great. Jasper, do you want to go ahead with your question while Matteo finds the example?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think we have to differentiate between the description or the metadata for the data set itself. That's where DCAT has good and a good approach, but Frictionless has also this package approach, and we have the other. I think that's what you showed more, the metadata for the file, for the distribution. So the structure of the files, and there's nothing in DCAT for that. So I think for this for defining or describing the structure of a file, there is no alternative to Frictionless specification. But we have to find a way how to map between the data package and the data package in Frictionless and the DCAT data set metadata. And one thing which is missing in DCAT right now completely is this possibility to combine different resources and link those different resources, which is possible in Frictionless. You can choose different resources from one topic and combine them into one data source, and that's something which is coming maybe with DCAT 3. Yeah, but I think that's currently will be a problem to map this into DCAT, this combination of different but related resources.
Thanks, Jasper.
Yeah, just to show you, we are using a very yeah, you can see the Frictionless right now is failing, which is a good sign. No, disclaimer: I don't insert the data into the system, and we have a contractor, and sometimes they change the things, and of course I'm telling them it's something that they need to take care. Anyway, we are doing it in a very simple and stupid way. We are making the data package as a file in the root files, in the root of the repository, and we have a metadata directory with the RDF of the data sets in DCAT. So it's a very straightforward and very, let's say, bovine way of showing it. We are trying also to bring up, this is another thing, linked data from this CSVs, but this is another thing. And the data is, as I told you, it's a list of different files in both CSV and JSON structure. Yeah, what we would like to do is getting the data package descriptions, what we have here. So the name of the fields and the title and the type and the constraints inside the description of the not stopping the description to distributions in the metadata of the DCAT, but getting down to something that is like the frictionless. We would be happy to have a tool that from one file gets the two. So if this is something that is easier to make. But yeah, you can see in the metadata, I don't know if you are familiar with the catalogs, but here you have different data sets inside, and for each data set, you have the different distributions, and for each distribution, you have all the descriptions.
So are these two different metadata files kind of automatically produced by?
Right now, they are not automatically produced, and right now, since the data is scripted, we keep it by hand, because it's we hope it's going to be stable. Also because since it's open data, people outside are getting really annoyed if we change the data frequently. So. Yeah, and sorry, I didn't show you the rest. If you go to the Italian, I'm going to the Italian portal, and I search for this is what you get with the portal, and this is what you have in the DCAT description. We are working in getting automatically the last modified up to date with an action, because this is not true.
Augusto, I think you had a question too.
Yes, thank you, Matteo, for the presentation. It was quite interesting. And in line with what you have already pointed out in the presentation and what Jesper had just said, I think that Frictionless and DCAT2 are in two different levels of describing data. Like DCAT2 is a higher level, like data catalogs, and the lowest item that's described there, the lowest class, is the data set, which you could say is roughly equivalent to the data package, the package class in Frictionless. But DCAT has nothing more granular than that. And also, DCAT2 does have a resource class, but it has nothing to do with a frictionless resource. It's a super class of dataset instead. So I started that mapping. I sent a link in chat some years ago, trying to make the correspondence between the classes in DCAT2 and the classes in Frictionless, trying to find out with comments on how they compare, how similar they are, or if there's, in some cases, there's no correspondence between the two. And I believe that any attempt to make an automation in converting metadata from data packages to DCAT2 or vice versa would necessarily have to do with this discussion and about which of those properties and classes map to each other. So yeah, I think Jesper had commented here about a different way to represent tabular data resource. So that would be interesting here as well. But I would like to take this opportunity to just invite this discussion in GitHub, and so we could perhaps finish this mapping as to make possible and consistent the way to automate conversion between metadata in these two formats. Because if each one of us start to make conversion based on our own idea, then with a different kind of mapping, I think that the meaning of metadata will start to get lost.
I agree, by the way. I agree with both the fact that, yeah, everything stops. There's a boundary, not a straight line between where does the cat stops and where the data package starts. But yeah, there is some kind of connection that we could exploit.
Thanks, Augusto. Any other questions?
This is a little not terribly frictionless related, but I'm just curious because I don't totally understand how the EU system works. Like, what do you do? Where do you place that RDF file to make it like discoverable to a harvester?
Basically, we are using CCAN in the national data catalog, and we just tell the guys of the national data catalog that there's a new URL to. The only thing that's very technical is that we need to use GitHub Pages because the RDF needs to have the right MIME type and not a generic text MIME type. Otherwise, CCAN goes wild.
Do you mind if can you hear me okay? Can I ask a question?
Sure, I'll go ahead, Jasper, then we'll go back to you.
Okay. Also, complimenti, lavoro ben fatto. And really, I just wanted to say your web portal is really beautiful. It's really well presented. I was wondering if Frictionless Data had a role there in the design process, of your public portal, and also if it's possible to download data packages in the download area. I couldn't actually access.
When you mean the data portal, is the Datigov it?
I mean, Anagrafe Nazionale.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the design. Was we have as I said, that there's a good team of designers that are working very hard to make pages that are accessible, and they have guidelines, very strict guidelines, and the design system that they are trying to promote. And the data package is inside the GitHub repository. I don't know if it's linked directly, but I can give you the links for that.
Thanks. And Oleg, sadly, we didn't have anything to do with the design, I'm afraid. Jasper, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, I use Frictionless, or when I describe my data sets, I use the resource description. I do not describe data packages. Is this some kind of misuse of Frictionless specification? Because I think we have the metadata for the data set. It's already written in DCAT AP, and I only use the Frictionless specification for this missing lower part for describing the files itself, because there's no alternative for me than to do it with Frictionless data. Is that okay, or is it better to only use data packages and not link to or not provide resource descriptions?
That's a very good question. Dan, did you want to add anything to that? Sorry.
Yeah, we're sort of talking about this in the chat there, but I think we have a similar issue where we're trying to introduce the same kind of like column level descriptions to the metadata, and we've been building around DCAT US, which is pretty similar to DCAT AP. DCAT US does have this data dictionary field, which I forget if it might have been in the original DCAT core, but either wasn't adopted into DCAT AP or was deprecated or something like that. But at least in DCAT US, there's a data dictionary field, which is just a URL. So like what we're sort of working towards is, in our software on the back end, like having a schema that's stored in this frictionless format and just kind of manipulating the JSON on the way out so that it displays as a URL so that it complies with DCAT US, but it's still there in the record for other uses. But it's complicated because we're kind of doing a lot of changing how the JSON looks depending on context, and that doesn't really, that's very specific to our software. I just had like one other thing to throw out. Like, I wonder if there would be use for a new profile, like a new data set profile, similar to tabular data resource that's specifically for things that need to comply, that are supposed to comply with DCAT, for catalogs like this, where we could just have a profile that, uses all the things that do map one-to-one, but then defines, fields for the missing pieces from Frictionless that are needed for whatever version of DCAT that you're using. Could be useful. Doesn't totally solve the problem, but gets closer maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I think we could probably bring this discussion inside the community chat as well, because it's something that I think the rest of the core team of Frictionless should definitely have a say about, probably more than me. One thing which is definitely on our roadmap already is to anyhow start having a look at the specifications, and maybe the fact that they need to comply with other formats as well. That's something that we can take into account. Do we have other questions? Augusto.
Yes, I'd just like to mention that since we are discussing these different levels of granularity and the gap in DCAT for describing low-level data, actually DASI is a standard in the W3C for CSV on the web. That was in the beginning of Frictionless. There was a lot of discussion between about the overlap between CSV on the web and Frictionless data packages. But I think that W3C standard is perhaps more concerned with creating a mapping, a way to map metadata from the CSV to RDF, so that inference machines and knowledge graphs in RDF would be able to access the data in the CSV and things like that. And Frictionless seems more concerned with data validation and continuous data integration and things that resonate more with developer and data communities today. So that's why I think Frictionless has gained more traction both in terms of community and tool support than the CSV on the web format. But that is also a possibility to describe data. So, but since we are talking about RDF, Matteo, you mentioned that you use the RDF TTL or Turtle for the metadata, but the example you showed is RDF XML. So have you make any discussions about? I think personally, I think everyone agrees that Turtle is more readable and easier to use.
This is just an accident about the fact that the SICAN wanted an RDF XML, so the plugin worked with that, and we had to convert it that way. Otherwise, we would have used Turtle description.
Makes sense. Thanks.
By the way, the thing that I said it in the chat. It's not a frictionless theme, but having a format where you have data inside some document, and you can get the data in a documented way would be something else that we would really like to have, like let's say a table in a PDF, but you can take away the table. What I said before, we are forcing administrations to publish both the document and the data. The issue here is that administrations say this is very demanding for us. So they would like to have one file that gives both the things.
Well, for some years, there's been the RDFA standards in W3C, but that's for HTML documents. Personally, I think it's sad that we don't see it used more often, because I think it's really cool to embed data in HTML. So I don't know if that could be applied to PDFs or other types of documents.
Yeah, the issue here is having something that anyone can edit, because we're talking about normal people, not developers that want to. We have this issue for e-health. You have a report for a patient, and you want to write data into the report, but you want it to be machine readable too. So the physician wants to see what is going to sign, but so he wants to see a paper, and but the system wants a machine readable thing to understand the illness or the symptoms. So it's something that is really interesting, and we don't have. I haven't found any format that gives both. I saw CSV on the web because it happens to have a way to put CSVs inside an HTML. But what I would like is to have the presentation and the data, the presentation coming from the data, and not a presentation and the data separate in the same document. Anyway, sorry.
We may have time for one last question or comment if anyone has some.
Can I just say something about the dance comment? We are trying. We have in the national platform for digital data. We are trying to extend the JSON schema descriptions for APIs in order to introduce some comments, some semantic references. Let's say the name is this kind of reference, the surname is this other reference, in a way that so that you can still transfer JSON, but if you have the schema, you can understand the semantic. You can add the semantic description and get basically from a JSON get a JSON LD from the if I have a JSON which is transferred from an API, and I have the schema with this kind of semantics description, I can have get the JSON LD equivalent, which is something that I can give to a reasoner. We don't have any implementations yet, but this is where we want to go, because we would like to have technical interoperability, but also semantic interoperability, and we would like to join the linked data world with the let's say raw data world and find a way to make them work together, because right now they are kind of separate. They are considered, linked data is considered too much demanding for resource demanding and complicated, and raw data is has no semantic description. So we are trying to.
Yeah, I think a JSON LD, I forget the thing, like a dictionary or whatever it's called, but like context, like JSON LD context file for Frictionless, I think, I mean, it would be a different story for custom profiles, but for the core ones, I think would be relatively low lift and should create some amount of like linked data stuff that would just like every implementer wouldn't have to deal with it. There might just be one thing they have to add to the top of the JSON file, and then it should just kind of work. And I wonder if there's like room for when you describe an API, because Open API is such a like widely adopted format now and just so well suited to describe how to interact with an API specifically. I wonder if there's like, if we could have a, if we could somehow link to an Open API description that could solve that problem in a lot of ways.
Yeah, regarding what I was saying is, right, it's an Open API extension.
Okay.
Then that idea has been discussed in GitHub as well. I'm sending the link to the issue here, but I think it makes total sense to have a JSON LD context for the standard, the basic profile for metadata in Frictionless mapped to RDF. Yeah.
Thanks, Augusto. I remember there was some discussion around it, but you've been very quick to find the issue. Thanks. Okay, unless you have anything else to add, Matteo, I think we will need to slowly come to a closing. We're coming to the top of the hour. So I wanted to thank you, first of all, for the presentation. And if we want to keep on having this discussion, as I think Dan suggested at the last community call, we can create even a channel inside the community chat to have like a focused discussion around this. So I encourage you to come to the chat and discuss this. In case you are not, you will find in the agenda doc a link to the Slack community chat. I can paste it here as well. And we also have a matrix bridge in case you don't want to use Slack. So this is the Slack link, and this is the matrix bridge link. I just had a couple of announcements that I wanted to make before letting you all go. So the first big announcement is that we're really excited that we're going to FOSDEM next weekend. I'm going to be there in person, so if anyone here is around, come and say hi. I'm going to be the whole Saturday in the Open Research Tool and Technology Room that we're co-organizing. And also I wanted to mention that at 5 p.m. Central European Time, Evgen is giving a talk, but online, so you can follow it on Matrix, and it's going to give an overview on the Frictionless application, which is basically a UI non-coder application that people who are maybe less technical can use to access the Frictionless functionalities. I don't have the Matrix link right now, but if you go to the FOSDEM website, you will find it and you can easily find us. The other thing that I wanted to announce is that we are co-organizing CSV conference version 7. And this year, for the first time, CSV is going to be in South America. So if you want to come and join us in Buenos Aires on the 19th and 20th of April, we're going to be there. And that's where we're officially releasing the Frictionless application, actually. So Evgeny will give a talk there as well. And there's going to be a bunch of OKFers as well. So we're actually going to do a parallel event, maybe a workshop or something around possibly Frictionless or maybe Secan as well. We haven't decided yet. Other thing that I wanted to say is that the next community call is going to be on February 24th. We don't have a presentation yet, so if anyone here would like to present something, you're very welcome to do so. There's a link again in the agenda doc that I'm going to paste in the chat as well. That you can use in case you want to present at some point. It doesn't need to be the next community call. And yes, and I think that's it. Our roadmap is online on the website if you want to go and have a look, and you'll go and find you can go and find a bunch of other links to our documentation and my website in case you're curious. So yeah, saying that, we've come to the top of the hour. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thanks for the very interesting discussion. Thanks again, Matteo, for your presentation. I'll see you all in the Matrix or in Slack, and then next month on the 24th of February, we'll find each other on Zoom
Thank you
again.
all for your time and your cooperation and your questions.
Thanks all. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.